Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. This is my weekly summary of the work we've been doing on Twitch, where we've lately been working on a personal finance tool I'm calling Fiume. The goal of it is to let you build up scenarios based on different streams and pools of income or expenses. All right, so this past week we had two basic focuses. One was notion of month plus year instead of month number. So in the first version, you had things like we were projecting months 1 through 360. And so, 5 years from now is 5 times 12 plus whatever. It's just an awkward way to work with things. Month year is much more understandable. So we switched over to that domain concept, updated our graph to use month and year, and also updated our streams to understand month and year. So the other one was age, and we want to be able to specify here's a person, and maybe their social security starts at age 62 or 67. And so stream also got modified to understand age. And also we did the user interface for age. We're not quite done with that. There's still some bumps in there, but we'll work on that soon. So let me give a demo and we'll do a little code walkthrough. So you can see on the graph, the axis here, 2034, 2044, these are year numbers, not month numbers. All right, so we'll just add a person since we had the ability to add people, but we've changed the way they enter their data. Okay, so let's just make it Bob, and he's born in 72. Okay, and November. All right, so we'll add that person in. Let's see, 50 years would be 2022. So we probably want to do stuff in the range of maybe 60 years or so. All right, and then as we add things now, so we can add this stream, and let's make it Social Security, and let's say he gets $1,000. Well, the start month, we could specify it's $1,000 starting in, well, what would that be? 60 was 2022, so 2027 would be 65. Let's just pick that one kind of arbitrarily. All right, but we could choose to specify the streams start by year, or we can now also specify by age, and maybe we want what happens if he takes it at 65. So the stream income, we'll see there's a delay till we get to his age 65, and then he gets his $1,000 a month from there. So those two things, switching the month year and switching the age. All right, and let's look at the code. So we'll start with person. We had their name, we had their birth year. We used to let you set the death year, but I took that out. We're gonna work on a different way to do that. Also, it's optional here. I think we'll get rid of the optional aspect. If you're introducing a person, we really need to know when they're born. The change came in with a date specifier. You can say a date is unchanged. So if you're updating a previous entry, you don't have to change the date field, or it can be the month, which is now month year, but was month number, or it can be the age of a person, the int age in years. All right, and then the three pieces that use that the most, one is possibilities. So possibilities is that main view we had. If you introduce scenarios, you'd have alternatives described and so on, but it's the group, the collection of all those. And for that, we have range. It starts with number of months, but it's going to produce the range in years. So we, this is kind of that transition point from number of months to a range in years. And the bulk of this is the calculation for the graph is asking the net worth. So over some range of month years, what's the net worth? And let's go look at those. They're just at the top of this file. So net worth is a list of scenario net worths. So the way our possibilities is, it describes multiple scenarios, but we have to kind of create each independent scenario that it describes. So, all the combinations and all that get kind of exploded out, and then we have a list of scenarios. So let's define possibility net worth for each scenario, and then each scenario has the net worth for it. It's got the all the monthly net worths. So if you project in 30 years, you have those 360 months worth of data, and then finally the data is for a given month, line 5, how much money do you have? Okay, and so the graph is built across all scenarios, all months, all values. All right, and then how that's done? Well, we'll expand out all the scenarios, and then for each one, we'll just get its net worth, and we'll put those. It's mapped, so it's producing an array that gives us that possibilities net worth. And now the scenario, we do the net worth of a scenario across a range of month years, and we're going to accumulate those monthly net worths, and we need a running total since we're calculating net worth. That's your starting value, plus whatever net you have from month 1 plus month 2 and so on. That's what gets charted. So we'll range over those month years, ask for each month year, what's your net down here, and then save that into the array so we can return that total net worth for this scenario. The net worth for a given month is take all the income and expenses in this month, and basically the reduce is sum them up. So we'll ask each stream, this is really streams, ask each stream, how much did you make this month? Okay, and then let's go into stream. So to get the amount for a given month, well, we're going to consider first, the stream has a range of dates it applies. And if we've specified that to be starting at a particular month, we first check if the month is less than the start month, then we'll just return 0 because it's out of range on this side. Okay, and then for month, if it's out of range on the right hand side, then again return 0. Otherwise, it's not outside on the left, it's not outside on the right. It must be in the range and return the monthly amount. Okay, and that gives you the effect for month year. That's most of what month year does. The age one is it's kind of similar, but the calculation's a little more complicated. And as I look at it now, I think it probably could be moved over to person. But first, we're checking to make sure it's not nil. If the birth date isn't defined, return 0. Otherwise, let's figure out when the start date is. Well, we have to take it in terms of the age. So we take the birth date and then we move it forward 12 months times the number of years. And that gives us the effective start date. And again, we're going to check, are you less than the effective start, and return 0. If you're not less, then let's check you for, are you greater? If it's an age, you can mix and match months and ages on either end. But if it's an age on the right, we again check the person's birth. If it's nil, and I hope to get rid of this check eventually, we'll look at the effective end date is the birth date, move forward by 12 times the age, and we'll see if it's outside the range. Now this one, notice this is greater than or equal because this gives you the month they turned that age, and so as an end date, we're saying let's not count that month. I don't know, that may be a wrong decision, but we'll see how that feels. Now, it's not a lot of visible features, although there's some, the month year thing and the age thing, but a lot of that, a good chunk of our time this week was refactoring from the month number to the month and year. It's not quite a refactoring because there's a little different semantics there, but it's similar in effect. So I think it's worth talking about what we did for that. And I'm calling it widen and narrow, widen then narrow. And the idea is that we have a parameter we started with, but we want to change it to a different parameter that maybe has more information, or it's different type for whatever reason. And a way to do that is to introduce you start with the old, introduce the new, make the behavior depend only on the new, and then remove the old. And you can either work bottom to top or top to bottom. either one, depending on the circumstances, I might do one or the other. So if you track across vertically, so we're starting with those red circles, that's the original parameter we use. And then in this case, I'm starting from the bottom. I'm going to introduce a new parameter, and nobody's calling it yet. So I'll start it as being optional, but I can make the I can build up incrementally that nothing's going to break because this new parameter is there. And then I'll work backwards. The callers need to provide that new value, and we'll put a parameter in for them. And then finally, the topmost level where we're getting the information that we wish we had is going to get that parameter. And so at that point, we have the right value coming all the way down. And I guess I should have put something in the middle there, but you can now um, go from the bottom to top or top to bottom. But whoever needs to use that new value, we switch them from using the old value to using the new value, and then we start removing parameters. And again, you can work your way from up or down, but here I'm showing working my way down. Get rid of the old parameter on the topmost level, then move down to the next level, um, make it so it doesn't need to pass it, delete that parameter, and keep going until you get all the way to the bottom. And you've now got the new parameter style and no sign of the old one. So that's what we did with month number. It corresponds to that red circle, and month year corresponds to the blue square. So we only had 3 or 4 levels, so it wasn't really so bad. But in a more general situation, you could have quite a few levels in there. Um, I don't know if there's a good way to decide whether top down or bottom up. For me, if I'm not sure where to get things or where they're coming from or how we get called down here, I might work bottom up. If I knew, like, oh, here I am with this new information, I know it needs to get down to these places, I might be able to do top down. It's an option. Everything is incremental, that you can stop at any point in any of these views, with some stuff being in both parameters still existing. Sometimes it's not ideal, but you can compile and build and run and everything in that thing. It does kind of presume that the parameter is the right way to get that information in place, and so you're just replacing the parameter, but that's often the case. And if you have more than one parameter, that's fine too. You can pass them in, make the change all at once for all of them. You really can do it in one pass usually. All right, but that works as a nice refactoring style. I think Kent Beck has called this like parallel implementation or something. Um, I don't know. I kind of use that term for something a little different, but um, I think of wide and then narrow because the interface is getting wider, and then I narrow it, but it's narrowed onto something different. Okay, and then this coming week, we're going to finish the age-related interface first. There's not a lot to do, but just kind of making sure that's together. Then I want to move into persistence. Right now, when you enter all your information and you close the app, or which we do all the time because we're developing, all those values go away, and you have to re-enter everything. So it'll be handy to have persistence to make entering that stuff, hang around. Um, and then after that, we'll allow editing of fields and tree structure. So it's a toss up to me which one of those is easier. I have a customer and talked to him, and he thought, if I have persistence, I can enter stuff, even if it's wrong. I can live a week until you get some editing in. So I think we'll take this order of doing persistence first. I've never used this new Swift data approach, so we'll learn some things about that. My understanding so far is that it's very similar to the new um, the way you make an observable object, and Swift takes care of it. It looks like the Swift data is very similar. You're just replacing that with a app model or something, one of the Swift data terms, and it theoretically works kind of the same. So I'm hoping it's a pretty straightforward thing. It's a little weird to me that persistence is embedded in those attributes, and not something I can separate out. So that kind of, I don't know. That's kind of I don't know about a flaw exactly, but it definitely means my tests will be slower if they have to do persistence all the time and harder to reset and all these kind of things. So I don't know. We may fight our way through I know there's some ways to do testing with Swift data that's maybe a little more, I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, if you'd like to join us, we're on Twitch Monday through Thursday, 2 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. If you go to xp123.com/Twitch, it'll bounce you over to the right place for the live session. Or if you go to xp123.com/YouTube, you'll get the old sessions time delayed by a couple of weeks maybe and lightly edited. So I hope you can join us sometime live, and thanks for watching today. Take care.